Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into something that, well, it touches all our lives. Personal finance. Think of it like getting the master key, making smart money choices, really taking control of your financial journey.
Absolutely. And it's a much broader landscape than many people realize. We're
Yeah.
talking everything from the day-to-day, like managing your budget, all the way to those big long-term strategies for investing, handling debt, securing your future with insurance. It's a lot.
So consider this your shortcut then. We've looked at some really great introductory resources to pull out the essential knowledge and those practical steps you can actually start using today.
Yeah, make it actionable.
Exactly. Our goal is just to make these core strategies clear, immediately useful, and, relevant to your everyday life. So where do we begin?
Well, let's start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
The introduction to personal finance itself. What's really fascinating here, I think, is the central role of financial literacy. It's not just about crunching numbers. It's really about having the understanding, the skills to confidently navigate what can often feel like a pretty complex world. Financial products, services, all that stuff.
Right. It's like having the cheat codes for the game of money, sort of.
Yeah, kind of.
And one of the first big advantages of being financially literate, according to our sources anyway, is budgeting.
The B word.
Yeah. It's knowing where your money comes from and, crucially, where it's going. This helps prevent that overspending a trap I think many of us have experienced.
Oh, definitely.
Guilty. And maybe more importantly, it builds those vital saving habits for the future.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, understanding your cash flow through budgeting, that's really the bedrock of any long-term financial stability. It lets you be really intentional with your money.
And it's not just about right now, is it? Financial literacy also demystifies that often confusing world of credit scores and reports.
Yes, so important.
Knowing how these work, what influences them, that's huge, especially if you're just starting out. Your score impacts everything, right? Getting a loan, the interest rate you pay, you can open doors or, well, create obstacles.
What's really important for you to grasp there is that a good credit score isn't just some abstract number.
Right.
It's a tangible asset. It can literally save you significant money over time because you get access to better financial products, lower borrowing costs.
Exactly. And looking ahead, financial literacy equips you with those crucial saving strategies. We're talking about building that really important emergency fund, your financial safety net, and understanding different ways to save, like high yield accounts, CDs, certificates of deposit.
Right. Those offer a fixed rate for a set time. More predictable sometimes, but less liquid.
Yeah, exactly. These are the tools that help you prepare for those bigger life milestones, like, well, eventually retirement.
What's fascinating, I think, is that financial literacy isn't just one skill. It's like a connected web of understanding, right? It includes debt management, retirement planning, even the basics of taxes and insurance.
It's holistic.
It is. It's about seeing your financial life as a whole, making informed decisions across all these different areas to achieve overall well-being and hit those personal financial goals you've set.
So to zoom out a bit, what exactly does personal finance cover? Our sources give a pretty clear overview. It's budgeting, saving, investing, planning for the future, understanding credit, and effectively managing any debt you might have. It's really the essential toolkit for financial stability, financial independence, really at any stage of life.
Indeed. And if we had to pick just one tool from that kit as absolutely central, it would have to be budgeting.
The core.
It is the core. It's what empowers you to make informed spending decisions, spot areas where you could maybe cut back, allocate funds for saving, and, crucially, prioritize those essential expenses so you stay in control.
Right. You're the pilot of your financial ship, not just like a passenger drifting along.
Exactly.
And then there's that whole area of credit scores and reports again. Our sources really stress how vital it is to understand these. For things like getting loans or credit cards, your creditworthiness really influences your future financial opportunities.
Yeah, and it boils down to understanding things like your payment history, are you paying on time, and how much of your available credit you're actually using, that credit utilization ratio.
So what's key for you, the listener, to understand is that a good credit score isn't just a benchmark.
Yep.
It's a key. It unlocks better financial opportunities, potentially saving you a lot of money over time through lower interest rates.
Oh, huge savings, potentially.
And let's not forget saving, especially if you're younger. Setting up good saving habits early, That's a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. Massive impact later on.
Building that emergency fund is your first line of defense against, the unexpected curveballs life throws. And then there's saving for those short-term wins, like that dream vacation, but also the really big long-term goals education, a comfortable retirement. It's all about building that secure future brick by brick.
Absolutely. And as you move along on your financial journey, understanding investing and starting to plan for retirement become increasingly vital. These are the strategies that allow your wealth to actually grow to ensure those later years are financially comfortable.
And of course, you've got taxes and insurance in the mix too, essential for protecting your assets, optimizing your overall financial situation.
You really can't ignore them. They're part of the whole picture.
Okay, so we know why budgeting is important. But for someone just starting out, how do they actually, roll up their sleeves and create one?
Well, the very first step, as our resources highlight, is just understanding your income and expenses. Simple as that sounds.
Right, the ins and outs.
Exactly. Income is all the money flowing in your salary, wages, maybe some investment income, a side hustle. Expenses are everything flowing out, fixed costs like rent, insurance, loan payments, and then the variable stuff like groceries, entertainment, eating out. Recognizing both sides is just, well, it's the foundation of managing your money effectively.
That makes sense. You can't really chart a course if you don't know your starting point, right?
Precisely.
And for people with variable income, like freelancers, our sources point out it's especially important to track all those income streams, get a really accurate picture for planning.
Exactly. Fluctuating income. That needs even more careful tracking. You've got to make sure you can cover your commitments and still put money aside for savings or investments.
And on the expenses side, breaking them down into fixed and variable seems key. Why is that categorization so important?
Well, categorizing helps you clearly see which costs are consistent, predictable, easier to plan for, but maybe more importantly, it helps you pinpoint those variable areas where you might have more flexibility.
Where you can make changes.
No, exactly. Where you might be able to reduce spending and free up some cash for savings or, paying down debt faster.
So, okay, you've got a handle on income and expenses. How do you actually create and stick to a budget then?
Think of the budget itself as your financial blueprint. You start by listing your total monthly income. Then subtract your total monthly expenses.
Okay.
The number you get, that's your cash flow. If your expenses are higher than your income, well, that's a clear signal. You need to reassess, make some adjustments.
Find places to cut back.
Right. But if you have money left over, fantastic. Consider putting those extra funds towards your savings goals or investments. Really boost your financial stability.
That seems straightforward enough. And our sources really emphasize that this relationship, the one between your income and expenses, is crucial for hitting those financial goals. Emergency fund, retirement, paying off debt. It all comes back to having that clear financial picture.
Precisely. And that picture, it allows you to make informed decisions. Plus, regularly reviewing and, tweaking your budget ensures you stay on the path to achieving those goals, even as your life changes.
Okay, so let's talk specifics. Getting that simple budget started. What are the absolute basics for a newcomer?
Our guide suggests starting by really understanding your income. If you have a regular salary, focus on your net income, what's left after taxes, deductions, all that.
Take-home pay.
Exactly. If your income varies, try to figure out your average monthly income over, say, the past few months. Once you've got a good sense of your income, the next step is tracking your expenses.
And how detailed do you really need to get with tracking those expenses?
Well, it's helpful to categorize them, those fixed costs, rent, insurance, loans, and the variable ones, groceries, entertainment, that coffee habit.
Guilty again.
Using bank statements, budgeting apps, those can be really useful here. They give you an accurate snapshot of where your money's actually going. Reviewing those expenses will highlight areas where you might be able to make some tweaks.
So you've got income, you've tracked expenses. Now, how do you put it all together into an actual budget plan?
You simply subtract your total expenses from your total income. If you find yourself spending more than you earn, which happens,
It does.
that's when you need to identify areas to cut back. Prioritize the essential expenses first, housing, food, utilities. Then allocate what's left for savings and those discretionary spending categories, the wants.
And our guide mentions the 50-30-20 rule as a starting point.
Yeah, it's a really helpful guideline. Basically, 50% of your income towards needs, 30% towards wants, and 20% towards savings and debt repayment. It's a good framework to start with.
That's a nice, easy-to-remember guideline. And our sources stress that budgeting isn't a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Right, absolutely not. Budgeting is ongoing. It's a process.
Yeah.
You need to regularly review it, adjust it when things change. Maybe you get a raise or have an unexpected expense. Setting aside some time each month, maybe just 30 minutes, to see how it's working, celebrate the small wins, reassess your goals, that's key for long-term financial control.
Now, drilling down a bit more on the expense side,
Hmm?
our sources keep mentioning tracking your spending.
Mm.
Why is that so crucial, and how do you actually do it effectively?
Tracking your spending is fundamental because, well, it gives you that really clear picture of where your money is actually going. It's about systematically recording, analyzing your
Different for
expenditure.
patterns?
Exactly. Seeing the patterns, identifying areas where you might be able to cut back, improve your overall financial health. It's about making informed decisions based on real data, not just guessing.
So what are some practical ways to actually track spending?
Our guide highlights a couple of main approaches. There are lots of budgeting apps and financial software now that can automatically categorize your expenses, even visualize your spending with charts and graphs.
Makes it visual.
Yeah. Or if you prefer something more traditional, you can always use a simple ledger or a spreadsheet. The most important thing, honestly, whatever method you choose, is consistency.
Right. Sticking with it.
Exactly. Regularly updating your records ensures you have an accurate view of your financial landscape. Makes it much easier to adjust your budget when needed.
And our sources also reiterate categorizing expenses as fixed and variable when you're tracking. Why does that matter specifically in the context of tracking?
Well, by distinguishing between fixed and variable costs while you're tracking, you can more easily pinpoint those areas where you might be overspending. Fixed costs are, well, fixed, harder to change quickly.
Like rent.
Right. But understanding your variable expenses, that gives you levers you can actually pull to manage those costs more effectively day to day or week to week.
And it sounds like tracking spending has benefits beyond just cutting back. I remember when I first really tried budget, I was shocked by how much I was spending on random online subscriptions. It was a real eye-opener.
Exactly. That happens all the time. By regularly reviewing your spending, you might uncover those recurring subscriptions or memberships you're not even using anymore.
Zombie subscriptions.
Huh? Exactly. Eliminating those can free up more money than you think for savings or investments. Plus, tracking gives you a clearer picture of your overall cash flow, which just makes it much easier to plan for bigger purchases or those unexpected expenses that inevitably pop up.
So the bottom line on tracking spending is that it's really foundational for setting and achieving pretty much any financial goal.
Exactly. Knowing exactly how much you spend and where it goes, that lets you allocate your funds much more effectively towards whatever your goals are. It also fosters a sense of accountability, which is just so important in staying on track with your personal finance journey.
All right, let's shift gears. Let's move on to something that can feel a bit opaque to newcomers. Credit scores and reports. What exactly is a credit score?
Okay, so a credit score is essentially a three-digit number, usually ranging from 300 to 850. It represents your creditworthiness.
Your financial reputation? Kind of.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a snapshot of how likely you are to repay borrowed money based on your past credit history and financial behavior. Lenders use this score as a key factor when deciding whether to lend you money or give you credit.
And it affects the terms, right?
Oh, significantly. It influences the terms and interest rates they offer. A higher score generally means you're seen as lower risk, which leads to better loan terms, lower interest rates. A lower score. That can mean higher borrowing costs, or even getting denied for credit altogether.
So it really matters. And our sources mention several key components that go into calculating this score. What are the main things that determine your credit score?
There are 5 main factors. Payment history is the biggest chunk, about 35% of your score. This looks at whether you've paid past credit accounts on time, super important.
Makes sense.
Then there's credit utilization, around 30%. That's the ratio of how much you currently owe on your credit cards compared to your total available credit limit. Keeping this low is really crucial.
Aim for under 30%, usually.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. Then length of credit history is about 15%. Generally, a longer history is better. The types of credit you have, like a mix of credit cards and installment loans, that's about 10%. And finally, recent credit inquiries, like when you apply for new credit, that also factors in at about 10%.
And our guide mentions FICO and Vantage score. Are those just different ways of calculating the same basic thing?
They are different scoring models, yeah. And while they both look at those same core factors we just discussed, they might weigh them slightly differently.
Ah,
So that's why you might see slightly different scores depending on which service you use to check. It's actually a good idea to monitor your scores from various sources to get a more complete picture of your credit health.
And why is having a good credit score so important in the real world? It's not just about getting a credit card, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. Maintaining a good score is vital for so many key financial goals. It affects your ability to get a mortgage, a car loan.
Renting an apartment, even.
Yes, even influences rental applications. Landlords often check credit. Some service providers, insurance companies might too. So a higher score doesn't just mean lower interest rates. It can really open up more opportunities and give you more options in lots of different parts of your life.
So, understanding credit scores is really a foundational piece of improving your overall financial literacy, taking control of your financial future.
Precisely. By understanding what influences your score and how it impacts borrowing, you can make informed decisions that will really benefit you in the long run.
Okay, so we know what a credit score is and how it's calculated. Now, what about the credit report? How is that different and why should you care about reading it?
Okay, so your credit report is much more detailed. Think of it as the raw data behind your credit score.
The source material.
Exactly. It includes specifics about your borrowing and repayment history, personal info, details about all your credit accounts, your payment history on those accounts, any public records like bankruptcies or lenders. Reading your report is crucial because it lets you see exactly what information lenders are seeing and what's being used to calculate your score.
And what kind of information will you actually find when you look at your report? What are the sections?
Most reports are divided into a few key sections. First, there's your personal information, name, address, etc. You'll want to check that carefully for accuracy.
Make sure it's actually you.
Right. Then comes the account information. This lists all your credit accounts, cards, loans, mortgages. For each one, you'll see when it was opened, the credit limit or loan amount, the current balance, and crucially, your payment history. Pay really close attention to this section. Late payments can seriously drag down your score.
What else should you be looking for?
There's usually a section on inquiries. These are records of when your credit has been checked. There are two types: hard inquiries and soft inquiries. Hard inquiries happen when you actually apply for new credit, like a loan or a credit card. Too many of those in a short time can slightly lower your score. Soft inquiries are things like background checks or you checking your own credit. Those don't affect your score at all.
Good to know the difference.
Yeah. And finally, there's often a public records section. This might contain info about bankruptcies, liens, or judgments against you. These can have a severe negative impact on your score and can stay on your report for several years.
So the big takeaway is that regularly reviewing your credit report is essential. Why?
Well, regularly reviewing it empowers you to make informed financial decisions. You can spot any errors or inaccuracies that might be hurting your score and take steps to dispute them. It also just helps you understand your overall credit health, track your habits, and ultimately work towards improving and maintaining a good credit score, which is vital for, long-term financial stability.
All right, let's shift gears again and talk about saving. Our sources have a whole chapter just on saving strategies for young adults. For someone just starting out, where should they even begin when it comes to saving money?
The absolute first step, according to our guide, is setting up a dedicated savings account.
Simple, but important.
Very. It provides a secure place for your money, lets it grow a bit with interest, hopefully, and it's just a fundamental tool for managing your finances as well. For beginners, understanding the different types of savings accounts available is pretty crucial too.
What are the main types a young adult should be aware of?
Well, you'll typically find traditional savings accounts at like your local brick and mortar bank. These might have slightly lower interest rates, but they often provide really easy access to your funds. Right. Then there are high-yield savings accounts. These are often found online, and they typically offer significantly higher interest rates. That lets your savings grow faster. Online savings accounts are another option, often similar to high-yield accounts, just emphasizing digital access. It's really about comparing the interest rates, any fees involved, and how easily you can get your money out if you need it. Find the best fit for you.
And the process of actually opening one sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah, generally quite simple. Most banks or credit unions will need some basic personal info: name, address, social security number, a government ID. Some might have a minimum deposit to open the account.
Okay.
Once you're approved, you can start adding funds. The key thing is to carefully review the terms and conditions. Different places have different rules about withdrawals, fees, how they calculate interest. Just be aware.
So you've got your savings account set up. What are some practical tips to really maximize the benefits, actually grow those savings?
Okay, one really effective strategy is setting up automatic transfers.
Ah, the pay yourself first idea.
Exactly. From your checking account to your savings account, maybe right after payday. This way, you're consistently saving without even having to think about it each month. It just happens.
Takes the willpower out of it?
Kind of, yeah. Also, setting specific savings goals helps a lot. Whether it's for an emergency fund, a vacation, a down payment, having a clear purpose provides strong motivation. Tracking your progress towards those goals can also keep you engaged.
Right.
And finally, it's important to periodically revisit your strategy. As your needs and goals change, maybe you want to explore higher yield accounts to make your savings work even harder for you. Stay informed.
Our guide also dives into something called the 50-30-20 rule. We touched on it, but what is that all about again?
Right, the 50-30-20 rule. It's a really simple, effective budgeting guideline. It's about dividing your after-tax income into three main buckets. 50% for your needs, those essential, unavoidable expenses. Housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, basic healthcare. 30% for your wants, the discretionary spending that enhances your lifestyle but isn't strictly necessary. Dining out, entertainment, hobbies, shopping. And the remaining 20%. That goes towards savings and debt repayment.
So the needs category is really about the absolute essentials for survival and basic living.
Exactly. It's about differentiating between what you must have versus things that are more about lifestyle enhancement. Keeping your needs within that 50% helps prevent financial strain. It's a good check.
And the wants category allows for some enjoyment without completely, derailing your finances.
That's the idea. Allocating a portion to wants acknowledges that, hey, life isn't just about strict necessity. It allows for some fun, some personal enjoyment while still keeping your overall financial health in check. And it prevents that feeling of deprivation that can sometimes lead to, splurge spending later.
Makes sense. And the crucial 20% for savings and debt repayment, that's really about building that future security.
Absolutely. This is where you build your emergency fund, save for future goals, tackle any outstanding debt. Prioritizing this category is key for improving your credit score, reducing long-term interest costs, and ultimately just paving the way for a more secure financial future.
It sounds like the 50-30-20 rule is a great starting point, especially for beginners, because it simplifies budgeting into these clear categories.
That's precisely its strength. It provides a clear, easy-to-understand framework. And while it's a guideline, remember you can always adjust those percentages to better fit your individual situation and priorities as you get more familiar with your own spending habits.
Beyond the 50-30-20 rule, what are some other concrete tips our guide offers for actually growing your savings?
Well, setting clear and achievable savings goals is paramount. We keep coming back to goals, but they matter.
Direction.
Right. Whether it's short-term, like a vacation, or long-term, like a house or retirement, having defined objectives gives you direction, keeps you motivated. Break those bigger goals down into smaller, more manageable steps with timelines attached.
That makes sense. Easier to stay focused with a clear target. What else?
Creating a budget, there it is again, that actively accommodates your savings goals is essential. Track your income and expenses to identify areas where you can potentially cut back. Even small adjustments, like packing your lunch a few times a week instead of buying it, or canceling a streaming service you don't watch, that can really add up over time and free up more funds for savings.
And the tip that always comes up is automating your savings. Our guide mentions that as well, right?
Yes, automating your savings contributions is incredibly effective. We mentioned it before, but setting up those automatic transfers from checking to savings right after each paycheck makes saving almost effortless. It's the pay yourself first principle in action. Ensures saving is a priority, not an afterthought.
What about getting a better return on your savings? Our guide touches on that too.
Definitely. Explore options like high-yield savings accounts or even low-risk investment accounts, especially if you have a longer time horizon for your savings goal. Research different financial institutions, compare interest rates. Options like certificates of deposit, CDs, or maybe even some low-risk mutual funds could be worth considering, depending on your goals and how long you can keep the money tied up.
And finally, it sounds like your savings plan shouldn't be set in stone. It needs to be flexible.
That's right. Regularly review and adjust your savings plan as your life circumstances change. Income changes, unexpected expenses. These things happen. Periodically reassess your budget, your savings goals, make sure they still align with your current situation and future aspirations. And hey, celebrate your progress along the way. Stay motivated. Flexibility is key to long-term financial security.
All right, we've covered budgeting basics, understanding credit, solid saving strategies. Now let's step into the realm of investing for beginners. This can seem intimidating, so what are the fundamental things a newcomer needs to understand first?
Okay, investing. The most important initial understanding is just that investments are essential tools for building wealth and achieving long-term financial security.
It's not just for the wealthy.
Absolutely not. And there are various types of investments out there, each with its own characteristics, levels of risk, and potential returns. Recognizing these differences is crucial for anyone looking to grow their financial portfolio, no matter your age or background.
Our guide then goes into some specific types. Let's start with the one most people have probably heard of. Stocks. What are they all about?
Okay, stocks. They represent ownership in a company. When you buy stock, you're basically buying a tiny piece of that company.
The shareholder.
Exactly. You can potentially benefit from its growth and profitability. Stocks have the potential for high returns over time, but, and this is important, they also come with higher volatility.
Ups and downs.
Big ups and downs sometimes, especially in the short term. So investing in stocks generally requires a long-term perspective. Understanding things like diversification, spreading your money across different stocks, and being aware of market trends is key to managing the risk. But the key insight here, for long-term growth, even a small percentage in well-diversified stock funds can significantly outperform savings accounts over decades. But you have to ride out those fluctuations.
Next up are bonds. How do they differ from stocks?
Bonds are quite different. They're essentially loans you make to a government or a corporation.
You're the lender.
Right. In return, they promise to pay you periodic interest payments over a set time and then repay the face value the original amount when the bond matures. Bonds are generally considered less risky than stocks.
Safer, but lower return usually.
Generally, yes. That makes them more attractive for maybe more conservative investors or people closer to retirement. There are different types: government bonds, municipal bonds, corporate bonds, each with varying risk and return levels. So you can choose based on your goals.
Our sources also mention real estate as an investment. What should beginners know about that?
Investing in real estate can provide income through rent, plus the potential for the property to increase in value over time. That's appreciation.
Uh-huh.
Real estate can also act as a hedge against inflation, as property values tend to rise with costs. However, you have to carefully consider things like location, market conditions, and the ongoing costs of maintenance. It's not passive.
Definitely not.
And our sources also mention REITs, real estate investment trusts. These let you invest in real estate without directly owning property by buying shares in companies that own and manage real estate, kind of like a mutual fund for property.
And finally, the guide talks about mutual funds and ETFs. These sound like good options for beginners looking for diversification.
Absolutely. Mutual funds and exchange-traded funds, ETFs, are excellent ways for beginners to get a diversified portfolio without having to pick individual stocks or bonds themselves.
Takes the guesswork out.
It does. They pool money from many investors to buy a wide range of assets, which helps spread out the risk. Mutual funds are often actively managed by a fund manager trying to beat the market. ETFs often passively track a specific market index, like the S&P 500, and they trade on exchanges just like stocks. Both are great options for beginners seeking diversification and sometimes professional management.
Now, a concept that comes up repeatedly with investing is risk versus reward. Can you break down what that means for beginners?
Right, risk versus reward. At its core, it's this fundamental principle in finance that highlights the direct relationship between the potential return on an investment and the level of risk you have to take to get that return.
Higher potential reward usually means higher risk.
Generally, yes. Understanding this balance is absolutely crucial for making informed financial decisions across the board: budgeting, investing, retirement planning, everything.
So in the world of investing, how does this risk-reward relationship typically play out?
Well, investments that offer the potential for higher returns usually come with more risk. Our guide points out things like stocks, real estate, certain mutual funds. They have potential for significant gains, but also the possibility of losses. On the other hand, more conservative investments, savings accounts, government bonds, typically offer lower returns but are considered much safer. As a beginner, it's really important to understand your own risk tolerance.
How much risk you're comfortable with.
Exactly. Your ability and willingness to withstand potential losses in pursuit of higher returns. This will heavily influence your investment choices.
It sounds like this concept of risk versus reward isn't limited to just investing, though.
You're absolutely right. It plays a big role in budgeting, too. When you're deciding how to use your income, you're constantly weighing the immediate gratification of spending versus the long-term benefits of saving for an emergency, for retirement. It takes discipline to balance present enjoyment with future security.
And even managing debt, there's a risk-reward element, isn't there?
Definitely. Taking on debt can help you achieve important goals like buying a home or funding education. Huge potential benefits. But it comes with risks, high interest rates, potential financial strain if you can't repay it, carefully evaluating why you're borrowing, and whether the potential benefits outweigh the burden is key.
So ultimately, understanding this risk-reward dynamic helps you make financial decisions that are aligned with your long-term goals.
Precisely. Setting clear financial goals helps you assess the potential risks and rewards of various actions. It guides your overall financial strategy and enhances your financial literacy so you can make sound decisions throughout your financial journey.
So for someone feeling ready to maybe dip their toes into investing, where should they even begin that investment journey?
Okay, starting the investment journey. Our guide emphasizes that, yeah, it can feel like a big step, but understanding the fundamentals is key. The very first thing is to really get a handle on your current financial situation.
Back to basics.
Back to basics. Look at your income, expenses, any existing debts. Creating that budget we talked about, crucial here. It helps you track spending, build that essential emergency fund first.
Got to have the safety net.
Absolutely. And ultimately free up some capital that you can then allocate towards investments. Having that stable financial foundation is really important before you start taking on investment risks. Don't invest your emergency fund.
Okay, so get your financial house in order first. What's next?
Next, think carefully about your investment goals. What are you investing for? And what's your time horizon?
How long until you need the money?
Exactly. Are you saving for something short-term, like a car down payment in a few years? Or is it long-term, like retirement decades away? Your time horizon is critical because it really influences the types of investments that are appropriate, generally longer time frame. You might consider higher risk investments like stocks, which have more potential for growth over the long run, need the money sooner. You'll likely lean towards more conservative options bonds, high-yield savings.
And our guide also mentions getting familiar with different asset classes.
Yes, absolutely. Take some time to learn about the main asset classes, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, maybe others. Understand their typical risk and return profiles. This knowledge helps you build a well-diversified portfolio that aligns with your personal risk tolerance. Diversification, remember, is key. Spreading your money across different types of investments helps reduce overall risk.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
And for someone feeling completely new to all of this, is it okay to seek out some help? Get some guidance.
Definitely. Don't hesitate. Seek guidance from qualified financial professionals if you feel you need it. There's also just a wealth of online resources and tools specifically designed for beginner investors these days.
Lots of apps and websites. Tons. Many offer low-cost investment options, educational materials. It can really demystify the whole process. Finally, just remember that staying informed about market trends and continuously learning will empower you to adapt your strategy over time as you get more comfortable and your situation evolves. It's a journey of continuous learning, really.
All right, let's tackle a topic that can feel overwhelming but is so important: debt management. Our guide starts by breaking down the different types of debt. What are the main categories we should know about?
Okay, debt. The guide primarily categorizes it into two main types: secured and unsecured.
Yep.
Secured debt is backed by a specific asset. Think your house with a mortgage or your car with an auto loan. If you fail to repay, the lender can take that asset back. Because of this security for the lender, secured debt often comes with lower interest rates.
Makes sense.
Unsecured debt, on the other hand, isn't tied to a specific asset. This is things like credit cards, personal loans, student loans sometimes. Because there's no specific collateral, it typically carries higher interest rates, reflects the greater risk for the lender.
And within those broad categories, what are some specific types of debt people might encounter?
Well, within secured, mortgages and auto loans are the most common. For unsecured, you'll see credit cards, personal loans, student loans, unfortunately sometimes medical debt. It's important to recognize these different forms as they can have different impacts and maybe different repayment strategies.
The guide also mentions classifying debt by its purpose. Why is that distinction helpful?
Classifying debt by purpose, like consumer debt for personal spending versus, say, business debt to fund operations, can be useful because it might influence your repayment strategies and goals. For example, student loans, while definitely debt, are often seen as an investment in future earning potential.
Right.
Whereas high-interest consumer debt from, unnecessary purchases might be something you want to tackle much more aggressively.
And this leads into the idea of good debt versus bad debt. Can you explain that distinction? It sounds a bit judgmental.
Yeah, the terms can sound that way. But good debt is generally seen as borrowing that can potentially lead to long-term wealth or increased earning potential, like a mortgage on a home that might appreciate, or student loans leading to a better career.
An investment.
Right. Bad debt is typically characterized by high interest rates and doesn't really contribute to long-term financial growth. Credit card debt from non-essential spending often falls into this category. Understanding this distinction just helps you make more informed decisions about when and why you might choose to borrow.
So regardless of the type, effective management is key. What does that involve, according to our sources?
Effective debt management involves several key steps. First, budgeting, making sure you can comfortably make your payments. Second, fully understanding the interest rates you're paying on each debt. Huge difference between 3% and 23%.
Yeah.
Third, prioritizing which debts to pay off first. Often using strategies like the snowball or avalanche methods we can talk about. And finally, not being afraid to seek professional advice if you're feeling really overwhelmed or need help with things like consolidation or negotiation.
Okay, let's dive into those payoff strategies. What is the snowball method all about?
The snowball method focuses on psychology, motivation.
Quick wins.
Exactly. You list all your debts from the smallest balance to the largest, regardless of the interest rate. You make minimum payments on everything except the one with the smallest balance. You throw every extra dollar you can find at that smallest one. Once it's paid off, boom, quick win. You take the money you were paying on it, the minimum plus the extra, and add it to the minimum payment of the next smallest debt.
Creating a bigger snowball payment.
Precisely. Like a snowball rolling downhill, gathering more snow. It provides those quick wins, keeps you motivated. The insight here is, while maybe not mathematically optimal, the motivation boost can be huge for beginners.
And how does the avalanche method differ?
The avalanche method is more focused on the math, on saving money on interest. You list your debts from the highest interest rate to the lowest, regardless of the balance size.
Okay.
Then you focus all your extra payment money on the debt with the highest interest rate first, while making minimum payments on everything else. This method will save you more money in the long run because you're tackling the most expensive debt first.
But maybe less immediate gratification.
Exactly. It requires more discipline because you might not see those quick wins of paying off small balances right away. It depends on what motivates you more, saving money or feeling progress faster.
Both sound like valid strategies. Our guide also emphasizes the role of budgeting in debt management. How do those two go hand in hand?
Budgeting is absolutely crucial for successful debt management. Creating that detailed budget gives you a clear view of your income and expenses, letting you identify areas where you can cut back spending.
Freeing up cash.
Exactly. The money you free up can then be directly thrown at your debt payments, accelerating the payoff. Using budgeting tools or apps can make this way more efficient and help you stay organized with it all.
And when things feel really overwhelming, our sources suggest seeking professional advice. What kind of help is available there?
Yeah, sometimes you need backup. Financial advisors or nonprofit credit counseling services can provide personalized strategies tailored to your specific situation. They can help you assess your debts, create a realistic repayment plan, offer guidance on managing credit.
Can they help negotiate?
Sometimes, yeah, they might be able to assist in negotiating lower interest rates with creditors or exploring options like debt consolidation to simplify your payments into one. Engaging with a professional can provide valuable accountability and support when you need it.
Ultimately, it sounds like a key part of debt management is developing the right mindset,
Yeah,
getting your head in the game.
exactly. Cultivating a mindset focused on financial health, on discipline, is essential. This includes setting clear goals, like a timeline for becoming debt-free, maybe rewarding yourself for hitting milestones, and, crucially, building that emergency fund is critical here too, to prevent future debt when unexpected expenses pop up. Prioritizing financial education, understanding the long-term impact of debt. It's all vital for creating a sustainable plan to live debt-free.
Now, shifting focus slightly to preventing future debt. What are some key strategies our guide recommends for that?
Avoiding future debt really starts with a proactive approach. Understanding the common triggers, things like overspending, lack of budgeting.
Knowing your weaknesses.
Yeah, knowing yourself. Establishing a clear budget is that first line of defense. Tracking income and expenses lets you see where money is going, makes it easier to spot potential issues before you resort to borrowing unnecessarily.
Another strategy mentioned is prioritizing needs over wants. How can you practically implement that? It sounds easy, but
It's tough sometimes. It's easy to get tempted by non-essential purchases, especially with like one-click buying online.
so easy.
To combat this, try actually making a list of your essential monthly needs: housing, food, utilities, core transportation. Really distinguish them from discretionary wants. This encourages more mindful spending, helps you focus your resources on what truly matters, and instead of immediately reaching for credit for a want, try fostering a habit of saving up for those non-essential purchases first. Delayed gratification.
We've talked about it a few times. It comes up again here.
Yeah.
The importance of an emergency fund. How does that help specifically in avoiding future debt?
Building that robust emergency fund aiming for 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses is absolutely critical for avoiding future debt. Life is unpredictable.
Definitely.
Unexpected costs, medical bills, car repairs, job loss, they happen. Having that financial cushion means you can handle these situations without having to automatically resort to credit cards or loans, which can quickly spiral into a debt cycle.
And understanding your credit score and report plays a role in avoiding future debt as well, doesn't it? Even if you don't plan to borrow.
Yes, because a good credit score can lead to better terms and lower interest rates if you do need to borrow in the future, making it easier to manage unavoidable expenses without getting overwhelmed by high interest. Plus, regularly monitoring your reports helps you stay informed, correct inaccuracies, and maintain good habits like low credit utilization and timely payments. It all works together to keep you out of potential debt traps.
Finally, setting financial goals seems to be a recurring theme in all aspects of personal finance, including avoiding debt.
That's because having clear financial goals, saving for a down payment, planning a vacation, retirement provides strong motivation to stick to your budget and avoid taking on unnecessary debt that could derail those goals. Use planning tools, regularly review your goals. By combining disciplined spending, proactive saving, and informed credit management, you build a solid foundation to avoid future debt and achieve long-term financial health.
All right, let's zero in on a crucial element of financial stability: building an emergency fund. Our guide emphasizes why this is so critical. Can you break down the main reasons why everyone really needs one?
An emergency fund is absolutely fundamental. It's your financial safety net.
The cushions.
Exactly. It's there to help you navigate those unexpected expenses, medical emergencies, car repairs breaking down, losing a job without completely derailing your overall financial stability. Life is just inherently unpredictable, right? Having a dedicated fund lets you cover these costs without resorting to high-interest debt or totally disrupting your regular budget. For anyone starting out, understanding this fund's importance provides a huge sense of security.
So it's really about protecting your financial health when the unexpected inevitably happens.
Exactly. When you're hit with a surprise expense, the knee-jerk reaction might be credit cards or a loan, but that can lead straight into a debt cycle, especially if the expense is big. An emergency fund gives you readily available cash. You handle the situation promptly, avoid those high-interest traps. It's a proactive way to manage your money responsibly, maintain your financial equilibrium.
Beyond just the dollars and cents, our sources also mention that an emergency fund can reduce stress and anxiety.
Yep.
How does that work?
Knowing you have that financial cushion set aside creates a buffer against life's uncertainties. So many people experience a lot of worry, a lot of stress when faced with unexpected costs.
Understandably.
Yeah. Having an emergency fund helps alleviate that anxiety. It allows you to focus on other important things: work, family, personal growth, without that constant fear of financial ruin looming. For beginners, establishing this fund is a really crucial step towards just overall financial well-being. Less stress is good.
And it sounds like the act of building an emergency fund itself can have positive ripple effects on your other financial habits.
Absolutely. Regularly setting aside a portion of your income to build this fund fosters a mindset of saving, of prioritizing financial security. This practice encourages discipline, but it also lays the groundwork for other important financial goals, like investing and retirement planning. Recognizing the significance of this fund early on helps you cultivate a saving habit that will serve you well in all aspects of your financial life.
So an emergency fund isn't just some separate pot of money over there. It really complements all the other aspects of good financial management.
Precisely. It works hand in hand with budgeting, with debt management, with your investment planning. Having that safety net in place allows you to make more confident decisions elsewhere. For instance, knowing you can handle unexpected costs might even make you feel more comfortable taking calculated risks in your career or with long-term investments. It's not just a safeguard, it's an empowering tool. Builds resilience, sets the stage for long-term success.
Now, the big question everyone always has is, how much should you actually aim to save in your emergency fund? Our guide offers some insights on this.
Right, the how much question. Determining the exact right amount really depends on your individual circumstances, your job stability, your income, your dependents, your fixed expenses.
It's personal.
It is. But a common starting guideline is to aim for saving at least 20% of your income overall towards various goals. When it comes specifically to the emergency fund, financial experts often recommend having 3 to 6 months worth of your essential living expenses readily accessible.
Essential expenses, not total income.
Right. Your core survival costs rent, mortgage, utilities, food, transportation, insurance. This buffer is designed to help you weather significant unforeseen events, like a job loss or major medical bills, without having to drain long-term savings or rack up high-interest debt.
That 3 to 6 month figure seems to be a widely accepted benchmark. What about saving for other goals beyond emergencies?
Yeah, saving for specific financial goals, a down payment, a vacation, a new car, can be a great motivator alongside building the emergency fund. Start by clearly identifying those goals and the timelines you have for achieving them. Then, calculate how much you need to save each month to hit those targets. This targeted approach helps you manage your finances effectively and gives you that sense of accomplishment as you watch your savings grow.
Our guide also touches on investing as part of a broader saving strategy. When should beginners start thinking about that, maybe alongside the emergency fund?
Well, having that solid emergency fund fully funded is the absolute first priority.
Safety first.
Safety first. Beginners should definitely start thinking about investing relatively early on. Saving in a bank account offers security, yes, but investing has the potential for much higher returns over time, which is crucial for long-term goals like retirement. For those new to it, it's often wise to start with tax-advantaged retirement accounts, like a 401k if your employer offers one, or an IRA. Even putting a small percentage of your income towards investments early in your career can benefit hugely from compounding over the years.
And it sounds like your overall saving strategy, including the emergency fund target, should be something you revisit periodically, not set it and forget it.
Absolutely. Your financial situation will naturally evolve. Life events happen, marriage, job changes, kids. It's important to regularly reassess your budget and your savings goals in light of these changes. Adjust your savings rate as needed. Make sure your efforts still align with your current aspirations and circumstances. Being proactive is key.
Okay, so we know how much to save, generally speaking. Now, what are some practical ways our guide suggests for actually building that emergency fund? How do you get the money flowing into it?
Okay, practical steps. First crucial one. Establish that budget reflecting your income and expenses. We sound like a broken record, but it matters.
Foundational.
It is. Take a month. Really track where your money is going. Categorize expenses, needs, wants. This gives you that clear picture of where you might be able to cut back on non-essential spending. Based on that budget, allocate a specific amount or percentage of your income to savings. Aim for that 20% overall benchmark if possible, with a clear target for the emergency fund portion. This disciplined approach creates a solid foundation.
And automating savings seems to be a recurring and highly effective strategy here, too.
It truly is. Set up those automatic transfers, checking to a dedicated savings account every payday. It simplifies the process, removes the temptation to spend that money elsewhere, and look for high-yield savings accounts specifically for this fund. They can help it grow a bit faster through interest while you're building it up. Automating just makes saving consistent, helps you reach the goal more easily.
What about looking for additional income streams? Can that help accelerate building the fund?
Oh, for sure. Exploring side hustles can be a significant boost. With the gig economy, there are so many opportunities now. Freelance work, part-time jobs, monetizing a hobby.
Turn a passion into pennies.
Exactly. Even a few extra hours a week can lead to substantial extra cash over time. Make a conscious decision to direct this additional income specifically towards your goals, like topping up that emergency fund faster or starting retirement savings.
And while you're building your emergency fund, should you also be thinking about or learning about investing?
Yes, even while you're prioritizing the emergency fund, you can definitely start learning about the basics of investing. Maybe start reading, listening to podcasts like this one. Consider starting small once the fund is healthy, maybe with low-cost index funds or ETFs. They offer diversification, minimize risk for beginners. Even investing small amounts regularly can really add up over time thanks to compounding. As you get more comfortable, you can gradually explore other options based on your risk tolerance and long-term goals.
And finally, tying it all together, having clear financial goals is essential for building that emergency fund and staying motivated throughout the process.
Absolutely. Set those SMART goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Write them down. create a plan, regularly review and adjust them as needed to stay on track. Integrating all these strategies, budgeting, automating, maybe a side hustle, learning about investing, setting smart goals will not only help you build your emergency fund, but also foster a healthier overall relationship with your finances, sets you up for a more secure future.
Let's move on to a topic that, well, often gets pushed to the back burner, especially for younger individuals: retirement planning. Our guide strongly emphasizes the importance of early retirement planning. Why is starting early just so crucial?
The primary reason early retirement planning is so vital is the magic, really, of compound interest.
The eighth wonder of the world, apparently.
Some say that. By starting to save and invest early, even relatively small contributions have a much, much longer time to grow exponentially. Compound interest means you earn returns not just on your initial investment, but also on the accumulated returns over decades. This can significantly boost your retirement savings far beyond what you actually contribute yourself. For young adults just starting out, those early contributions can have a disproportionately massive impact down the line. Time is your biggest asset.
And setting clear retirement goals is also a key part of the early planning process, right? Not just vaguely saving.
Absolutely. Defining what your ideal retirement looks like when you hope to retire, the kind of lifestyle you want, provides that crucial roadmap. Different lifestyles cost different amounts, right?
Right. Beach house versus quiet cabin.
Exactly. Having a clear target helps you budget effectively now, determine the necessary savings rate, choose the right investment strategy to reach those goals. It helps ensure you're not caught unprepared when retirement eventually arrives.
Our guide also mentions that starting early can reduce stress later in life. How so?
Many people, unfortunately, underestimate just how much they'll need for retirement and wait too long to start saving seriously.
Playing catch-up is hard.
It's really hard. It can create a lot of pressure in their later working years, leading to financial strain, maybe having to work longer than planned, or potentially facing a lower quality of life in retirement. By making retirement savings a priority early on, you alleviate that future pressure, allows for a much more comfortable, enjoyable transition into retirement.
And it sounds like early retirement planning can have positive spillover effects on other areas of your financial life, too.
That's right. Individuals who prioritize saving for retirement often just develop more disciplined financial habits overall. Better budgeting, more responsible debt management, more informed investing. These good habits benefit not just your retirement savings, but they enhance your overall financial literacy, help you navigate other financial challenges throughout your life.
So starting early really opens up more opportunities for financial growth in the long run. More options.
Precisely. With a well-structured early plan, you might feel more empowered to explore a wider range of investment options beyond just basic savings accounts. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, maybe real estate things with potential for higher returns over the long term. By starting early, you have more time to potentially recover from market downturns and take calculated risks that could yield significant rewards, ultimately strengthening your portfolio and ensuring a more secure future.
Now, when we talk about retirement planning, the conversation quickly turns to specific retirement accounts. Our guide provides an overview for starters. What are the main types of retirement accounts we should know about?
Okay, retirement accounts. These are specialized savings accounts designed specifically for long-term financial security, and the big deal is they often come with significant tax advantages.
That's the key difference.
That's a huge key difference. Understanding the different types available is fundamental, regardless of your age or current financial situation.
Let's start with the most common one many employees have access to, the 401k.
Right, the 401k. This is a retirement savings plan often offered by employers. A key feature is that it allows employees to contribute a portion of their income before taxes are taken out.
Pre-tax contributions.
Exactly, which means you don't pay income tax on those contributions in the year you make them. That lowers your taxable income now. Plus, many employers offer a match.
Free money.
Essentially, yes. They match a certain percentage of your contributions. Definitely take advantage of the full employer match if you can. It's a huge boost.
And then there are IRAs. How do those work? Individual retirement accounts.
Right. An IRA is something you can open on your own, separate from your employer. There are two main types, traditional and Roth.
Okay.
With a traditional IRA, your contributions may be tax deductible now, depending on your income and if you have a workplace plan. Your money grows tax deferred until retirement, and then withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income.
Taxed later.
Right. A Roth IRA works the other way around. You contribute money you've already paid taxes on after-tax dollars, but then your money grows tax-free, And qualified withdrawals in retirement are also completely tax-free.
Tax-free later.
Yeah.
Nice.
The choice between traditional and Roth often depends on whether you think you'll be in a higher or lower tax bracket in retirement compared to now.
What about those who are self-employed or own small businesses? Are there specific options for them?
Yes, absolutely. There are accounts specifically designed for these self-employed and small business owners. Things like the Solo 401k and the SEP IRA Simplified Employee Pension Plan.
Okay.
These often allow for much higher contribution limits compared to traditional IRAs, which can be a huge advantage if you have the capacity to save more aggressively. A solo 401k, for instance, lets you contribute both as the employee and the employer of your own business.
Doubling up, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Leads to much larger savings possibility.
And within these retirement accounts, 401k, IRAs, are you limited in how you can actually invest the money inside them?
Typically, no, you have options. Most retirement accounts offer a range of investment choices: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, target date funds. This flexibility lets you tailor your investments based on your personal risk tolerance and how far away you are from retirement.
So you can adjust over time.
Exactly. As you get closer to retirement, you might choose to shift towards more conservative investments to protect the savings you've built up.
So the tax benefits associated with these accounts are really a significant advantage for long-term financial security. That's the big takeaway.
Absolutely. By taking advantage of those tax benefits, whether it's tax savings now or tax savings later, retirement accounts are incredibly powerful tools. They can significantly enhance your financial security and independence down the road.
Now that we understand the importance of early planning and the types of accounts available, let's talk about setting actual retirement goals. What are the key steps involved in this process? It sounds important, but maybe a bit fuzzy.
Setting clear retirement goals is absolutely crucial. It's what guides your current financial decisions and ensures you have the resources you actually need when you stop working.
So where should someone begin when setting these goals? How do you make it less fuzzy?
The first step is to really assess your current financial situation. We keep saying it, but you need that baseline: income, expenses, current savings, debts. Understanding where you stand helps determine how much you realistically need to save. Then, think about your expected retirement age. Your anticipated life expectancy may be a bit morbid, but necessary, and the kind of lifestyle you envision. Try to estimate your annual expenses during retirement. Housing, healthcare, big one, travel, hobbies. This gives you a clearer picture of the financial resources you'll need.
Once you have that estimated cost of retirement, how do you figure out how much you actually need to save? That huge number can be scary.
It can seem daunting. Financial experts often recommend saving at least 15% of your gross income for retirement, but again, that varies. How early you start is a huge factor.
Right.
There are many online retirement calculators and tools that can help you estimate how much you need to save each month or year to reach your goal. It's also really important to factor in inflation.
Things get more expensive over time.
They do. Your savings need to grow just to maintain purchasing power. Setting a specific savings target, even if it feels big, can help keep you motivated and focused. Break it down into smaller chunks.
And just like with other financial goals, having a timeline seems important for retirement planning too. Milestones along the way.
Absolutely. Think about when you'd ideally like to retire, then work backward. Set short-term goals, maybe fully funding that emergency fund first, paying off high-interest debt. Mid-term goals, increasing your retirement contributions, starting to invest in specific accounts. And long-term goals, that overall savings target, the desired lifestyle. Having these milestones provides structure and makes the big goal feel less overwhelming. Regularly reviewing and adjusting this timeline is key.
So retirement planning isn't a one-time event. It's definitely an ongoing process. It needs revisiting.
Exactly. As your life circumstances change, new job, family evolves, priorities shift, you'll need to reassess your retirement goals. Stay informed about different saving options, investment strategies, tax implications. Don't hesitate to use resources, maybe even talk to a financial advisor sometimes. By actively managing your retirement goals, you take control of your financial future and work towards a retirement that actually meets your expectations.
Now, let's move on to a topic that can feel like a whole other language, especially for newcomers. Tax fundamentals. Our guide emphasizes that understanding tax basics is essential for taking control of your personal finances. Why is that the case?
Understanding tax basics is crucial because, well, taxes are a significant part of our financial lives. Like it or not,
Can't avoid them.
pretty much. They fund essential public services, infrastructure. So Knowing your obligations, but also your rights as a taxpayer, is important just for being an informed citizen. Beyond that, understanding how taxes work can help you make smarter financial decisions all year round, potentially saving you money and definitely avoiding nasty surprises come tax season.
Our guide lists several common types of taxes.
Right.
For individuals, what are the main ones we should be aware of?
Okay, for most individuals, income tax is usually the biggest one, based on the money you earn from your job, investments, side hustles. It's helpful to understand how income tax brackets work. Different portions of your income get taxed at different rates.
It's progressive.
Right. You should also know the difference between federal, state, and sometimes even local income taxes. Each level can have different rates, different rules. Beyond income tax, you'll also encounter sales tax on purchases, property tax if you own real estate, and maybe capital gains tax if you sell assets like stocks for a profit. But for new filers, the main focus is usually understanding income tax.
Filing taxes can definitely feel daunting the first time. What's the guide's advice on making the process a bit less intimidating?
The absolute key is to stay organized throughout the year. Don't wait until April.
The shoebox method is bad.
Huh? The shoebox method is generally bad, yes.
Okay.
Keep good records of all your income pay stubs, 1099s for freelance work. Keep receipts for potential deductions. Familiarizing yourself with basic tax forms, like the Form 1040 in the U.S., can also help demystify things. And honestly, many people find it really helpful to use tax preparation software or consult with a tax professional, especially the first few times or if their situation is complex.
Our guide also highlights the importance of understanding tax deductions and credits. What's the difference between those, and why should we care about them?
Okay, deductions versus credits. They both reduce your tax bill, but they work differently. Deductions lower your taxable income.
So the amount your tax rate is applied to.
Exactly. Common deductions might include student loan interest, contributions to a traditional IRA, maybe some medical expenses if they're high enough. Tax credits, on the other hand, are often better because they directly reduce the amount of tax you owe, dollar for dollar.
A direct subtraction.
Right. Examples of credits could include those for educational expenses, like the American Opportunity Tax Credit, or child care costs, child tax credit, child and dependent care credit. Knowing which deductions and credits you might qualify for can lead to significant savings. It's worth looking into.
So staying informed about tax laws and changes is an ongoing process. Where can new filers find reliable information?
The primary source for federal taxes in the U.S. is the IRS website, irs.gov. They have a ton of information, forms, publications, even interactive tools. State tax department websites are the place for state info. You can also find reliable help through programs like VITA Volunteer Income Tax Assistance if your income is below a certain level. Staying proactive, keeping up with changes. It's crucial for effective planning and avoiding surprises.
Our guide then goes into some common tax deductions and credits. What are some of the main ones that might benefit new filers and significantly impact their financial health?
Yeah, understanding these can really make a difference. One of the most common is the standard deduction. For many taxpayers, especially those with simpler finances who don't have a lot of specific deductible expenses.
Like most young people starting out.
Often, yeah. The standard deduction provides a straightforward way to reduce taxable income without having to track a million receipts. The amount varies depending on your filing status, single, married filing jointly, etc. It's good to know the current amounts. For those who do have significant qualifying expenses, they might benefit more from itemizing deductions instead. Things like mortgage interest, state and local taxes, up to a limit, large charitable contributions.
And on the credit side, what are some key credits that new filers, maybe especially lower or moderate income filers, should be aware of?
One really important credit is the Earned Income Tax Credit, or EITC. This is specifically designed to help low to moderate income working individuals and families. Eligibility depends on your income, filing status, and whether you have qualifying children. For those eligible, the EITC can be a significant financial boost. It's a refundable credit, meaning you can get money back even if you didn't owe any tax.
Wow. Sorry.
There are also other beneficial credits like the child tax credit we mentioned and the American Opportunity Tax Credit for higher education costs. Really worth checking eligibility for these.
It sounds like staying informed about these deductions and credits is really about maximizing your potential refund or minimizing what you owe.
Absolutely. Tax laws change, eligibility rules can shift. It's important to stay updated. Use resources like the IRS website, consider tax software, which often prompts you about these things, or talk to a tax pro. Understanding what you might qualify for helps optimize your tax situation.
Now let's talk about the actual process of filing your first tax return. It can seem like a big hurdle. What's the very first step?
Okay, first return. The very first step is actually figuring out if you need to file a tax return at all.
You might not have to.
You might not. There are income thresholds based on your filing status, age, and dependency status. If your income is below a certain level, you might not be legally required to file. However, and this is important, even if you're not required, it's often still a good idea to file.
Why is that?
Because if you had any federal income tax withheld from your paychecks during the year, the only way to get that money back as a refund is to file a return. So research those filing requirements, but lean towards filing if you had taxes withheld.
Okay, good tip. Once you've determined that you need to file, what's the next practical thing you should do?
Gather your documents. Get organized. This usually means your W-2 forms from all employers, any 1099 forms if you did freelance work or had other miscellaneous income, also records of any other income. And then collect documents related to potential deductions and credits you plan to claim: student loan interest statements, Form 1090E, receipts for educational expenses if applicable, records of charitable donations. Getting organized before you start trying to fill out forms will streamline the whole thing immensely.
And then you have to choose how you're actually going to file. What are the main options there?
You have a few main choices. You can still file manually using paper forms, which you can download from the IRS website, though fewer people do this now.
Seems tedious.
It can be. Another very popular option is using tax preparation software. Lots of brands out there. These programs guide you step by step, ask questions, do the calculations. Many offer free filing options for simple returns, which is great for first-timers. Finally, if your situation is more complex, maybe you're self-employed with lots of expenses or have investment income, you might consider hiring a tax professional, like a CPA or an enrolled agent. Choose the method that fits your comfort level and complexity.
After you've actually filed your return, hit submit, or dropped it in the mail, are there any important things to keep in mind post-filing?
Yes, definitely. Keep records, keep a copy of your filed tax return and all the supporting documents you used to prepare it for at least 3 years.
Why 3 years?
That's generally the period the IRS has to audit a return if they have questions. Having organized records saves a ton of time and stress if anything comes up. Also, take a few minutes to actually review your completed return. Understanding how your income, deductions, and credits affected your final tax bill or refund can help you plan better for next year. Maybe adjust your W-4 withholding at work, or plan for estimated tax payments if needed.
So filing your first tax return is more than just like fulfilling a legal obligation. It's also a learning experience about your own finances.
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity to gain valuable insights into your financial picture and set a foundation for sound financial planning going forward. As your income grows and things get more complex, you can adapt your approach. But that first filing is a big step in financial literacy.
All right, let's broaden the scope again and talk about the overarching process of financial goal setting and planning. Our guide emphasizes that identifying your financial goals is the crucial first step. Why is that so important? Where does it fit?
Identifying your financial goals is absolutely fundamental because it provides the direction, the motivation for all your financial decisions.
The why.
Exactly, the why. Whether they're short-term goals like saving for a vacation or long-term aspirations like buying a home or retiring comfortably, clearly defined goals give you purpose. They help you prioritize how you spend and save your money. They create the roadmap for your entire financial journey. Without clear goals, it's just too easy to drift aimlessly, financially speaking.
So how should someone actually go about identifying their financial goals? How do you figure out what you want?
Start by reflecting. Look at your current situation. Think about your future aspirations. Ask yourself some key questions. What do I want to achieve financially in the next year, the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Understanding your priorities is essential. Once you have some ideas, try to make them SMART goals. We mentioned this before.
Specific, measurable.
Attainable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right.
So instead of just, I want to save money, a SMART goal is, I want to save $5,000 for a down payment on a car within the next 2 years by saving $210 per month. Much clearer, much more actionable.
Our guide also recommends categorizing your goals. Why is that helpful? Short-term, medium-term, long-term.
Categorizing your goals into those time frames, short-term, within a year, medium-term, 1 to 5 years, and long-term, beyond 5 years, helps you allocate your resources and create realistic timelines.
Okay.
For instance, short-term goals might focus on building that initial emergency fund or paying off a pesky credit card. Medium-term might be saving for a house down payment. Long-term is usually retirement, maybe kids' education. This categorization just makes it easier to break down those big aspirations into more manageable steps and decide where to put your money first.
Once you've identified and categorized your goals, what's the next step in the planning process?
The next crucial step is to assess your current financial situation again, that baseline. Income, expenses, debts, current savings. This assessment gives you a clear understanding of the resources you actually have available and what adjustments you might need to make to reach those goals you just set. If your goal is that house down payment, you need to evaluate your current savings rate and see if you need to cut back spending elsewhere to hit your target on time.
And finally, our sources emphasize that financial goals aren't set in stone. They can and probably should change.
That's absolutely right. Financial goals should be regularly revisited and adjusted as your life circumstances change. Big life events, marriage, career changes, kids, moving, harmony, they can significantly impact your priorities. Staying flexible and committed to the process of financial planning ensures your goals remain relevant and continue to guide you towards the financial stability you desire. It's dynamic.
So you've identified your goals. What's the next step in the process actually creating a comprehensive financial plan? How does that differ from just setting goals?
Creating a financial plan is essential for turning those goals into reality. It's the roadmap that connects where you are now to where you want to be.
More detailed than just the goals list.
Exactly. The first step is that comprehensive assessment we keep mentioning: income, expenses, assets, what you own, liabilities, what you owe. Understanding your starting point is crucial for setting realistic goals and making informed decisions moving forward within the plan.
And then it all comes back to incorporating those SMART goals we just talked about, right? They're part of the plan.
Exactly. Setting those specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound goals, short, medium, and long-term, is the next key step within the plan. They help you prioritize efforts, allocate resources effectively, and again, revisit and adjust them periodically as life happens.
Our guide also stresses the importance of budgeting as a core part of a financial plan. How does that fit in specifically?
Budgeting is a critical component, maybe the engine, of a sound financial plan. It's how you track income and expenses, ensure you're living within your means, and strategically allocate funds towards the savings and investments outlined in your plan to meet your goals.
It's the execution tool.
That's a great way to put it. Use budgeting tools, apps, spreadsheets, whatever works for you. Regularly review and adjust the budget to stay aligned with your plan and goals.
And understanding and managing your credit is another key element of the overall plan.
Absolutely. Your credit health impacts so much. A solid financial plan includes actively monitoring your credit reports, paying bills on time, keeping credit utilization low, improving your score if needed. Better credit means better loan terms, which supports other parts of your plan, like buying a house.
And of course, a financial plan has to incorporate saving and investing strategies explicitly.
Yes. Building that emergency fund, 3 to 6 months expenses, is fundamental, a priority within the plan. Once that's solid, the plan should outline how you'll explore investment options aligned with your risk tolerance and long-term goals. Retirement accounts, maybe other investments. Starting early lets you benefit from compounding, which is a core principle underpinning most long-term plans.
So it sounds like a financial plan is really a living document.
Right.
Needs ongoing attention, not just filed away somewhere.
Precisely. It's not something you create once and then forget about.
Right.
Monitoring your progress toward your goals and making adjustments as needed is essential to ensure you stay on track and actually achieve what you set out to do.
What does that monitoring and adjusting process actually look like in practice? How often should you do it?
Establishing a regular routine for reviewing your progress is key. Maybe monthly, maybe quarterly. Find a rhythm that works for you. Check in on your budget, your savings balances, your spending patterns.
Compare actual versus planned.
Exactly. Compare your actual numbers against the targets in your plan. Are you saving as much as you intended? Making progress on debt? Regularly assessing allows you to spot any areas where you might be falling short and make timely adjustments. Maybe you need to cut spending more. Maybe you can save more aggressively. This practice keeps you accountable and reinforces your commitment.
And our guide emphasizes that life events often necessitate changes to your financial plan and goals.
Absolutely. Life happens. Job changes, marriage, kids, unexpected illnesses, even good things like an inheritance. These events can significantly influence your financial priorities and require adjustments to your plan.
So flexibility is key.
Flexibility is so important. If you get a raise, maybe you increase retirement contributions. If unexpected expenses hit, maybe you temporarily pause a savings goal. Financial planning isn't rigid. It's a dynamic process that responds to life's twists and turns.
Using those SMART criteria for your goals can help with this monitoring process as well, right? Makes it easier to see if you're on track.
Yes, setting SMART goals makes monitoring much simpler. A goal like increase my 401k contributions by 2% each year for 5 years is much easier to track than just save more for retirement. If you're consistently falling short, it might mean the goal was too ambitious, or maybe your strategies need reevaluating. Applying the SMART framework provides clarity and helps you stay motivated.
So ultimately, successful financial management is really an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Exactly. It requires ongoing commitment, willingness to adapt. By regularly monitoring your goals, adjusting your plan when necessary, you ensure you stay aligned with your aspirations and empower yourself to stay in control on the continuous path towards financial wellness.
Finally, let's touch on navigating the often confusing world of insurance options. Our guide stresses that understanding the different types of insurance is foundational for financial protection. What are the essential types of insurance a beginner should really be aware of?
Okay, insurance. Understanding the various types is indeed foundational. Insurance acts as that crucial safety net, providing financial protection against unexpected events that could have a huge negative impact on your finances.
Risk management.
Exactly, it's risk management. While it might seem overwhelming, breaking down the different types can help you make informed decisions that align with your personal circumstances and your overall financial plan.
Let's start with one that's almost universally necessary these days: health insurance.
Health insurance is absolutely critical. It helps cover medical expenses, doctor visits, hospital stays, prescriptions, with healthcare costs being what they are.
So high.
Having adequate health insurance can protect you from potentially devastating financial strain if you get sick or injured. When choosing a plan, you need to consider premiums, the costs, deductibles, what you pay first, and the extent of coverage to ensure it meets your needs.
Another essential type, especially if you own a vehicle, is auto insurance.
Yes, auto insurance is essential for vehicle owners. Protects you from financial loss if you're in an accident, your car is stolen or damaged. Most states require minimum coverage levels, but it's often wise to assess your situation and consider higher limits, especially for liability protection.
What's liability cover again?
Liability protects your assets if you're found at fault in an accident that injures someone else or damages their property. You definitely don't want to be underinsured there.
And for your home or belongings, our guide highlights homeowners or renters insurance.
Absolutely. Whether you own your home or rent, having insurance to protect your property and personal belongings is vital. Homeowners insurance covers the structure of your house and your possessions against things like fire, theft, certain weather events. Renters insurance provides similar protection for your belongings within a rented space and often some liability coverage too. These offer huge peace of mind and financial help if disaster strikes.
Lastly, for those with dependents or significant financial obligations, life insurance is a crucial consideration.
That's right. Life insurance provides financial support to your designated beneficiaries if you pass away. This can help them cover essential expenses, mortgage payments, kids' education costs, just general living expenses if they relied on your income.
Different types, right? Term versus whole life.
Exactly. Term life covers you for a specific period, usually cheaper. Whole life provides lifelong coverage and often includes a cash value savings component, typically more expensive. You need to assess your responsibilities, your loved one's future needs to determine the right type and amount of coverage.
So understanding these core types of insurance is really about building a solid financial foundation and protecting yourself, your assets, from potential financial catastrophes.
Exactly. By evaluating your personal circumstances, the potential risks you face, you can make informed decisions about insurance that protect you and contribute to a much more stable, secure financial future.
To navigate insurance effectively, it seems like understanding the actual policy terms is key. Our guide breaks down some of the most important jargon. Let's start with premium. What does that mean?
Okay, premium. That's simply the amount of money you pay regularly, monthly, quarterly, annually to keep your insurance policy active.
The price tag.
Pretty much. It's crucial to factor premiums into your budget. Often a higher premium might mean more coverage, but you need to balance that against affordability. Understanding how premiums are calculated based on risk factors like age, health, driving record helps you choose the right policy without overspending.
Another term you always hear is deductible. How does that work?
A deductible is the amount you have to pay out of pocket before your insurance coverage kicks in to pay for a covered loss.
You pay first.
You pay the first chunk, yes. For example, with health insurance, you might have a $5,000 deductible. You pay the first $1,000 of covered medical bills each year, then insurance starts paying its share. Understanding your deductible is important for budgeting, especially with health and auto insurance. Typically, a lower deductible means higher premiums and vice versa. It's a trade-off.
What about coverage limits?
Coverage limits refer to the maximum amount your insurance policy will pay out for a specific type of covered loss.
A cap.
Exactly the cap. This can vary a lot depending on the insurance type and your specific policy. Your auto insurance might have a $50,000 limit for property damage liability, for example. It's really important to know these limits to ensure you have adequate protection for your assets without paying for way more coverage than you realistically need.
And finally, the term exclusions is something you definitely want to pay close attention to. What are those?
Oh, absolutely. Exclusions are the specific situations, conditions, or items that your insurance policy will not cover.
The fine print.
Often in the fine print, yes. Policies detail these exclusions, and it's really important to read and understand them to avoid nasty surprises if you need to file a claim. Knowing what's not covered helps you assess if the policy truly meets your needs, or if maybe you need an additional policy or rider for certain specific risks, like flood insurance, which is often excluded from standard homeowners policies.
So really understanding these key policy terms empowers you to make much more informed decisions about your insurance coverage. Less guesswork.
Exactly. It demystifies the jargon, lets you navigate insurance with more confidence and clarity, ensuring you get the protection you actually need without overpaying or having unexpected gaps in coverage when you need it most.
So with an understanding of policy terms in hand, how do you actually go about choosing the right insurance coverage for your individual needs, putting it all together?
Choosing the right insurance coverage is such a vital aspect of personal finance, but yeah, sometimes overlooked. People might just see it as an expense.
Grudge purchase.
Yeah, sometimes. But it's truly that financial safety net protecting you from potentially huge losses. Whether you're just starting out or nearing retirement, understanding the different types and how they fit your overall plan is essential. The key is to carefully evaluate your personal circumstances, health, assets, goals, to determine which types of coverage and how much will best meet your unique needs.
Let's circle back to health insurance again. What are the key considerations when actually choosing a specific plan?
With health insurance, you want to get familiar with the options, employer plans, marketplace plans, like through the ACA, private plans. Then think about that balance. The monthly premium versus the deductible you'll pay if you need care. Also, look at the network. Are your preferred doctors and hospitals covered? And check the out-of-pocket maximum, the absolute most you'd have to pay in a worst-case scenario year. It's about finding a plan that provides the necessary medical coverage without wrecking your budget.
And for life insurance, what factors should drive the decision on how much coverage and what type?
For life insurance, the main consideration is usually the financial needs of your dependents or anyone relying on your income if you weren't around. Think about covering the mortgage, future education costs, replacing your income for a period, then decide between term life, coverage for a set period, often cheaper, and whole life, lifelong coverage, savings component, more expensive. The right choice depends heavily on your responsibilities and long-term goals.
When it comes to protecting your home and belongings, what should you look for specifically in homeowners or renters insurance policies?
For both homeowners and renters, understand what perils are covered, fire, theft, windstorm, etc., and just as importantly, what's excluded. Pay attention to coverage limits for both the structure, homeowners, and your personal possessions. Do you need extra coverage for valuables like jewelry or electronics? Also, consider liability coverage. What happens if someone gets hurt on your property? Understand the policy specifics.
And finally, for auto insurance, what are the key aspects to consider beyond just meeting the state minimum requirements?
While you must meet state minimums, they are often quite low. It's usually wise to consider higher liability limits to protect your assets. Then think about collision coverage, pays for damage to your car in an accident you cause, and comprehensive coverage, pays for damage from other things like theft, fire, hitting an animal. The value of your car and your driving habits influence these choices. And definitely review your policy regularly, especially if you get a new car or your driving situation changes. Shop around periodically, too.
So choosing the right insurance coverage really comes down to understanding your individual risks, weighing the costs and benefits, and finding that right balance of protection and affordability for your situation.
Exactly. It's about being proactive, assessing your needs, and making sure you have that safety net in place to protect yourself and your assets from significant financial losses. Don't hesitate to ask questions, compare policies, find the best coverage at a price that fits your overall financial plan.
Well, we've definitely covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into personal finance for beginners. We've hit on budgeting as the foundation, the importance of saving, understanding credit, getting started with investing, managing debt effectively, building that crucial emergency fund, the significance of early retirement planning, tax fundamentals, setting and planning financial goals, and finally, navigating insurance options.
Yeah.
Phew.
Yes, and I think the key takeaway really across all these areas is that financial literacy and taking proactive steps to manage your money are just absolutely crucial. They're crucial for achieving financial stability and ultimately reaching whatever your personal financial goals might be. It's not about some magic formula. It's about building that solid foundation for a secure future, step by step.
So, for our listener who've been taking all this in, maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed, but also maybe motivated, what's the very first step you'd encourage them to take? Just one thing.
The most important thing is simply to start. Just begin. Pick one area that resonated with you the most today. Maybe it's finally sitting down to create that first simple budget. Or maybe it's just setting a small, achievable savings goal, like saving $20 from your next paycheck. Even taking that first small step can build momentum and set you on the right path. Don't try to do everything at once.
That's great advice. And if certain topics felt a bit complex or you want to go deeper, our source materials offer a lot more detail. It might be worth revisiting those specific chapters or topics that sparked your interest to get a deeper understanding and really figure out how to apply these concepts to your own unique life.
Absolutely. This deep dive is really just an introduction, a starting point. There's always more to learn in personal finance, and continuous learning is a key part of managing your money successfully over the long haul. Stay curious.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. With a solid understanding of these financial foundations, what unexpected opportunity might you now be better prepared to seize? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.